we're going to be looking at today is sequences, and the lesson objective for today's lesson is to find and use the nth term of an arithmetic sequence. So what we need to do is, before we start, we're just going to have a quick recap of what we've learned in the previous lesson. So for question number 1, it says here, state the rule for the following sequences. So we're just looking at a rule. So we've got 16, then we've got 26, 36, 46, 56. Quite comfortably, we can say you add 10 every single time. So that is our rule. For the second question, we've got 8, 11, 14, 17, and 20. And I know if you add 3 every time, 8 plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 3 is 14, 14 plus 3 is 17, 17 plus 3 is 20. So again, we can quite easily say the rule is positive 3 plus 3. Third question is slightly different. You need to know your positive and negative numbers. So I can quite easily say here, every time the sequence is getting smaller and smaller. So I'm taking away 2 every time. So minus 9 take away 2 is minus 11. Minus 11 take away 2 is minus 13. Minus 13 take away 2 is minus 15. Minus 15 take away 2 is minus 17. So my rule is going to be minus 2 up here. Now, what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be looking at the nth term rule. It's quite important you remember what the question says. It's the nth term rule. And if you look at the first question, like we did in our previous questions, so it's 7, 13, 19, 25, 31. I know every single time my rule is to add 6. I'm adding 6 every single time. And what I need to do now is I need to make sure I put terms up here. So this is my first term, my second term, my third term, my fourth term, and my fifth term. And the sequences are 7, 13, 19, 25, and 21, and 31. So what we need to do, right, is because the difference is 6 every time, so underneath the first term, I'm going to write here 6n. And I'm going to put an arrow from my 6n to the 7. How do I get from 6 to 7? I know it's add 1 every time. And that is my nth term rule. Now what we can do is we can just double check if you've got this correct. So the way you would do this is, what you can do is, if you look at the first term, which is this one up here, and my sequence for that one is 7, so that's 7 up there. So let's just double check, does this work out with using this formula up here? So my formula is 6n plus 1. So the n I'm going to replace with number 1 for my term. So 6 up there, I'm going to replace that with the number 1, and then plus 1, you continue with that. So 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and I've got 7 up here. So let's just try it with a couple of more. So let's try it with the third term up there. So again, my formula was 6n plus 1. This time I'm going to try with the third term, so I'm going to replace the n with a 3. So you've got 6 up there, replace that with 3 plus 1. So 6 times 3 is 18 plus 1, which is 19, and that's exactly what I've got up here. And let's just try it with the fifth term up there, this one up there. So what we're going to do is just replace it with that. So the rule was 6n plus 1. So this time we're going to replace the n with the 5. So I've got 6 here, don't forget the brackets, and close the brackets. 6 times 5 plus 1, which is 31. We've got that up there. Now what I want you to do now is I want you to attempt this first question here for me, please. Can you pause the video now? Right, before we start this question, I'm going to put the terms in here. So the first term is, second term is 3, the third term is 5, fourth term is 7, and the fifth term is 9, and the sixth term is 11. So we need to know what the difference between each number is up here. So we can quite comfortably say if you add 2 every single time, the rule is add 2. And like we did previously, under the first term up here, I'm going to write here 2. I'm going to write here 2n. How do I get from 2 to 1? I know 2 take away 1 is 1, so you write here minus 1. So my rule is 2n minus 1. Like we did previously, what I want to do here, I want to check if this works out for these different terms. So let's just start off this time we'll start off with the first term up there. So I'm going to replace the n with the number 1. So this is my nth term rule. So 2 up here, and I replace the n with the number 1 in the brackets, and minus 1, which is a rule. So 2 times 1 is 2, minus 1, and we've got 1 up here. Let's try it with the fourth one up here. So what I'll do up here, I'll write this down again, the nth term rule, 2n minus 1, and replace the 4 with the n, so 2, and then in brackets 4 minus 1. 2 times 4 is 8, minus 1, which is 7. And we'll do it with the sixth one. So just up there, we'll do the sixth one. So we'll write the nth term rule, 2n minus 1. So replace the n with the 6, so 2 in brackets with the 6, minus 1. And we should have 2 times 6 is 12, minus 1, which is 11. And that's exactly what we've got. Now, just another example I'll do with you, and then I'll give you to do one for yourself. So again, with these numbers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the terms up here. That's my first term, my second term, my third term, fourth, and fifth. So the difference for each one we know is a 10. So I'm just going to write here positive 10. That is the difference for each term. And then underneath the first term up here, I'm going to write here 10, 10n. And how do I get from 10 to 11? I know I need to add 1. So my nth term rule is 10n plus 1. This time, if I replace, let's start off with 2 up there. So if I replace 2 with the n, 10 times 2 is 21, and 20 plus the 1 is 21. It works out for that one. Let's try with the fourth term up there. So again, we're using the rule 10n plus 1. 10 times 4 is 40, plus 1 is 41. And let's just try it with the fifth one, see if it works that one. 10 times 5, just replacing the n with the 5. 10 times 5 is 50, plus 1 is 51. What I want you to do is the same thing. I want you to pause the video and have a go at this question up there at the bottom, please. Thank you. Right, before we start, I'm going to put the terms down. So that's my first term, my second term, third, fourth, fifth term, and my sixth term. So I know every time, if I add 5, I get the next sequence. So for example, 2 plus 5 is 7, 7 plus 5 is 12. So I'm adding 5 every time up there. So what I need to do, under the first term up here, under this term up here, I'm going to write here 5n, because that's what the difference is. And how do I get from 5 to 2? How do I get from 5 to the 2? So I know I need to minus 3. And that is my nth term rule. What we can do now is just check that with the second term. So if I check that with the second term, what I can do is, if I replace the number 2 with the n up here, so 5 times 2 is 10, minus 3, and I get 7. Again, if I try it with this one here, if I replace the n with 5, so 5 times n again is 25. 5 times 5 is 25, take away 3 is 22. And lastly, if I just do it with 6, with the 6 up there, so 5 times again with the n, 5 times 6 is 30, take away 3 is 27. Now, what you have to do for this question up here, it says here, you have to find the first 5 terms of these sequences. So, before we do anything, it's really important if I just write down my first 5 terms. So, if I write here number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, and 5. Every single time, I'm going to replace the number 1 with the n up here, and then add 3, because I've already been given my term already. So, in other words, what is 2 times 1 plus 3? So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5. So the first one is 5. For the second one, I can write down what is 2 times 2, this time 2 times 2 plus 3. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4, plus 3 is 7. Now for the third one, what I can do the same thing again. So replace the n with a 3. 2 times 3 plus 3. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 3 is 9. And for the fourth one is again 2n plus 3. This time replace the n with a 4. So 2 times 4 plus 3. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11. And for the fifth one, we're doing exactly the same thing, replacing the n with a 2. Remember, this is what we're looking at up here. So 2 times 5, in brackets, plus 3. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13. And these are my first 5 sequences. So these are my first 5 sequences. What I want you to do is, I want you to do exactly the same with this question up here. 4n plus 2, generate the first 5 sequences, and pause the video now please. Right, what you should have done is you should have written the first 5 sequences, so if I write the first 5 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And every time what we're going to do is we're going to stick to this 4n plus 2. So for this one here, you can write here 4n, 4 times 1. This time we're going to replace it with the number 1. And then plus 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. For the next one, what we're going to do is replace the n with the number 2. Again, we're looking at this one here. Replace the n with number 2, so it's going to be 4 times 2 plus 2. And 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. With the third term, we have to replace again 4 times 3, which is 12, plus 2, which is 14. Again, 4 and plus 2, replace the n with a 4. 4 times 4 this time, 4 times 4, and then plus 2. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. And then for the last one up there, the fifth term, is 4 times 5 this time. So replace the n with the number 5. 4 times 5, and then you plus 2. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So your first 5 terms are the ones highlighted there: 6, 10, 14 and 22. Now, sometimes in an assessment or an exam, you can get a question where it says, find the 50th and 100th term. So the rule is already given to you. In this case, 2n plus 3. Now, if you look at the 50th term first, so if I highlight the 50th term, all you're doing is replacing the 50 with the number 2, sorry, with the n. So you've got 2 here, and replace the 50 with the n, so 2 times 50, and then you do plus 3. So 2 times 50 is 100, plus 3 is 103. And what we can do is we could do it with this one as well then. So you've got 2n plus 3, which is a question up there. So this time I'm replacing the n with 100. So in other words, what is 2 times 100 plus 3? 2 times 100 is 200. Expand that out. Plus 3, and the answer should be 203. What I want you to do, and pause the video and answer the next question, but the next question says 50th and 75th term, so please make sure you read the question and answer that. So pause the video now please. Right, so we're going to be attempting this question, which it says 4n plus 4. So this time we're going to replace it with the 50th one. So in other words, replace the n with 50. 4 times 50 plus 4. 4 times 50 is 200, plus 4, and the answer for that one should be 204. This time we write the same formula, so 4n plus 4. This time we're replacing it with 75, the n with 75. So 4 times 75 plus 4. 4 times 75 is 300. plus 4 equals 304. Now, we've got some questions for you on the next slide, and what you need to do is you need to attempt these questions, take a picture of these, and send them on class charts, please. Send the answers on class charts. Thank you for watching.